Important questions to ask when you are dating. Hello, my name is Chengi, and you, my precious one, of course, are my world. Welcome to Chengi's World, right here where I teach you ladies how to present as a high value, high status, high worth woman that men find completely irresistible. Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen? Okay, so welcome to Chengi's World. And so let's talk about the important questions that we need to ask when we're dating. I am not going to go through every single question, and you all know that I have created, if you don't know this, then you will know that I have created the 50 questions, 50 questions that every high value woman needs answered, okay? In those questions, there's some fun questions, some deep questions. I might actually add more to those questions and make them maybe 100 because there's so many more questions we need to be asking, especially now. But for the moment, there are 50 questions that every high value woman needs answered, and of course they're going to be really completely valuable to your dating life, and you can choose and pick and choose some from there. But as I was sort of on my last live call and dealing with some clients, there has been something that has definitely been coming up a lot, a question that we don't really think to ask, and questions around that question that will give us a greater insight as to how we can navigate the future with a guy that we like. Now, this question is really only relevant if you can see a future with this man. He is consistent, he is communicating, and there's a lot of chemistry, and you feel energetically, emotionally that you are in a very safe space in a relationship where you're more likely sooner rather than later to meet his family. Okay, meeting his parents seems to be something that we think is, yeah, whatever. However, we don't realize that when we date somebody, we're not dating that person. We're dating their family. We're dating the people around them that have made up and continue to make up their personal support system. And when we don't check if we fit in to that world, we are setting ourselves up for complete emotional disaster. So some of you girls were saying to me, you know what, his mom doesn't like me, his sisters don't like me. This is absolutely normal and goes on a great deal. And a lot of women are actually married and in relationships where their in-laws, especially their mother-in-law, does not approve, does not like them. And ladies, let me just make this very clear to you. If a man's family, especially his mother and his sisters, so God help you, if his mother and his sisters don't like you, your chances of being in a relationship long term, even in your marriage, are highly reduced. Pressure from mom and sisters when they do not like the option and the choice is never to be underestimated. It can bring any relationship to a screeching halt. Now, personally, it's really very important for me to make sure that that dynamic is very much set. Men are not thinking about that dynamic when they're dating you. They're in a place where they're thinking about what works for them, what suits them. They feel really lucky to be in your company, and they're really hopeful that you will meet their family and everything will go really well. Some men are dating you knowing full well, 100% full well, that his family will never accept you. And as a result of that, you are not actually going to end up in a relationship or getting married to this man. So it's really important that you do some recon and ask some real questions in and around his family. We want to ask him, tell me about your mom. Tell me about your relationship with your mom. What does your mom do? What does she enjoy? What makes her smile? And find out as much as you can around his mom. He's going to want to talk about his mother unless they've got a broken relationship or a toxic relationship, in which case that is already a red flag. If a man has a toxic relationship with his mother, that is a red flag, unless of course perhaps his mother was maybe a drug addict or an alcoholic and beat him up all the time. If he hasn't had any therapy around it, I would run away real fast, because men who hate their mothers hate women. Misogyny doesn't come as a result of men just hating women. Misogyny is a result of men who hate their mothers. They have to first hate their mother to hate women. So a lot of men have unhealthy relationships. Maybe mom was abusive, or mom was not caring or loving, or maybe mom was a narcissist. Whatever the case may be, when you date a guy and he hasn't got a good relationship with his mom, you really want to keep that one moving as quickly as possible, unless of course he's gone through a lot of therapy and a lot of help, and you kind of speak to him and he's talking more about the lessons and how he's learned to love her. Then of course you've got a better chance if he has done the work on himself. When most guys who have healthy relationships with their mothers are going to enjoy talking about their mothers. Why? Because she is the most trusted woman. She is the first love he's ever had for a woman, and so he's gonna enjoy talking about her. And because he's into you, he's gonna say, oh, she will love you. She will love you because he loves you, or he's feeling you, and so he thinks mom will do too. However, there are multiple reasons. If you're in this situation, know somebody in this situation, or are just dating and hoping to find somebody, I want you to know that there are multiple reasons why the mother of the man you're dating is likely not to like you. Now, for most people, most mothers who have healthy relationships with their sons and are married in happy relationships themselves, or coupled in happy relationships themselves, tend to not really invest too much into who their son is dating. They tend to want to like you because you make her son happy, and he's never been happier since he's been with you, and so they're going to be more embracing, and they're going to love the fact that he's in love and that he's found somebody. So this is, quite, I'd probably say 50%, maybe more, 60% of the relationship you're going to have with your in-laws. They're just going to be happy that their son has found somebody, especially if he's way older or he's had a hard time in love and you're a sweet girl. It's going to be fine. But there is that percentage, and usually it is the single mom. The single mom who hasn't found a relationship, or who has had toxic relationships herself. The single mom, and usually sometimes the son actually has encouraged the mom to be single, because young men don't want their mothers dating because they don't want to feel replaced and they don't want another male running the show. So they just slip into husband role, and mom kind of just lets that happen, and it's a natural synergy, and they kind of have this husband-wife surrogate relationship that is non-sexual for the most part, but they do have a lot of, I've seen moms sort of have their boys on their laps and stroking them and telling them how much they love them, and he's like 40, right? So they can have that contact and have that oxytocin bond that you would have with anybody, with a woman would have with a man. So some of these relationships might not have intercourse or anything sexual, but they have a very strong bond that really is surrogate husband and wife, if that makes sense. And a lot of this happens quite naturally for single moms, and they don't really know that their sons have become a surrogate husband. And so you coming into their lives is really the other woman. You are the other woman that she has to compete for. So that is usually fundamentally the number one reason, especially, like I said, with single moms who are raising their sons or who have never found love for themselves. The second reason is that you don't fit into the family culture. Okay, so what we want as mothers, being one myself, and generally as we are psychologically built, we trust same, we trust familiar. That is how our brains are wired, to help us feel safe, right? So we want him to bring somebody into the family whose DNA is similar, almost resembles us, whose culture resembles us, whose way of life values resemble us. And so the more differences that are being presented to the mother-in-law and to the sisters, the more you're gonna get resistance. Now, some of you are thinking, what's the sisters got to do with it? The sisters too tend to also sometimes have this harem mindset. Mom and us, we're this harem, and he is our man. He protects us, he provides for us, and he cherishes us. And we don't want another woman who is not a part of the tribe. So it will come across as sisters being protective of their brother, but actually it's just part of a harem. He plays the masculine role in their lives, and they rely on him in that way. There's the threat that when you come in, that masculine role is going to leave and they're going to be without a reliable masculine person. And so it is natural and even subconscious for them to be resistant to your presence. The third reason, of course, in terms of needing and wanting familiarity, if you're a girl who is super glamorous and mom and sisters are homely, plain girls who don't wear makeup and don't do their hair and just, just good old-fashioned homely girls, okay, and you come through with your glamorous self, Houston, we have a problem, okay? She's not familiar to us and she's showing us up, and choosing her is a rejection of us because we're not like her. So if he's choosing somebody who's not like us, then he's rejecting us, and that's really the story that is going on in their heads because we're not like that. And this was definitely the case for me when I first in my marriage. His family were very different. I was 18. I worked in Selfridges as a makeup artist, beauty consultant at the time. I was uber glamorous. Levels, okay. And, it was hard for his family to resonate because his sisters are lovely, very simple women that don't wear makeup, that don't do their hair, one of them has natural hair, cuts it off. These are not women that are kind of into their looks all the time. They have other things, other priorities and stuff like that. So we were like worlds apart, and so that created a bit of unnecessary tension. But his mom is an English lady, and I find with English culture there's a bit more openness and a bit more acceptance, and it didn't really take very much for her to like me. I just kind of bought her a gift and just was amiable. Of course, at first I was African girl and we don't talk when we meet our in-laws. Well, certainly in Zimbabwe you're not supposed to meet your mother-in-law and chat. The idea is you go in and you sit quietly and silently and respectfully, and she talks to you and you only answer her when she speaks as a sign of reverence. So obviously I had come from Zimbabwe with that mindset, so I sat there and I waited for her to lead, and I would follow. And as an English lady, she felt like I wasn't interested and I wasn't bringing up conversation, and I was, she perceived that as rudeness. So that was just a bit of a culture clash. But as she got to know me, everything was fine. Actually, my ex-mother-in-law is probably was my best friend. I mean, her and I had the most amazing relationship, and eventually so I had that with his sisters as well. But I was also younger, more willing to try my best. But again, I've been in other situations where I turned up to meet mom, and thinking mom is because he was selling me, because I'm very kind of conscious about that, and he was telling me this, and my mom will love you, my mom is so forward thinking, she's so this and she's so that. But mom was a single mom, and in both cases single moms. And no, first she was married, her husband was still alive. The second one, she was a single mom, and basically he was the husband. I remember sort of meeting the whole family and sitting around the dinner table and watching the family dynamic, which I do, and I realized that he was very much daddy. He was daddy to his siblings, and he was very much the man of this home. And obviously I showed up looking my usual self, very elegant and covered up and modest, and you're meeting the mother-in-law after all, potential mother-in-law after all. And she came in and she had boobs out, short skirt, and she pretty much looked like she was gonna leave the restaurant and go straight into a club full of 20-something-year-olds. That's kind of how she looked on that occasion. And so I instantly then knew that we're not gonna get on, because I'm so different. And of course it worked out that it became a huge problem as time went on. So there was just no resonance from her, and no matter how much I tried to be sweet and kind and and communicate, I was just too different. I wasn't the kind of I think his brother was there with his girlfriend, and everybody drinks and everybody parties, and that's how we do. And the girlfriend was there, and she was joining in the party, and she's younger and more willing to kind of get into the flow of things, but I'm too old for that. So I was just my lovely pleasant self, and and I think it was very evident and very clear that I wasn't part of the culture or the tribe and how this particular tribe works. So it's really important that you do some recon. It's really important that you look at some pictures. It's really important that you understand the dynamic that goes on in the family. Find out about his siblings, and I think some of those are in the 50 questions. This is a really important question to ask, because you don't want to build up a relationship with a man, really get to that point where you are so emotionally invested, and then it turns out that his family do not like you. So Chengi, how do I turn it around? I'm already in the relationship, I'm already invested in this relationship, and his parents, his sisters, his mom cannot stand me. Well, my advice to you is this. Obviously, you're gonna have to work, and nothing is gonna happen overnight, okay? Preferably, if you can, any woman listening to me, the moment you meet him and you kind of get a chance to meet his parents or his family before things get serious, and you figure out that they're not into you, just run, move on, get another guy. Honestly, it's not worth the hassle as far as I am concerned. It's just not worth the hassle. It will ruin your Christmases. It will ruin your life, basically. Constantly being in a situation where your anxiety levels are high because the in-laws are coming over, or you've been invited to a family do. It's just anxiety forming, and eventually just creates unnecessary tension for the couple and for both of you. But if you are already invested and you can't see yourself walking away, and he loves you and he's prepared to fight for your relationship, then I would say that you now need to get rid of the glossy stuff and get to the belly of the problem. What is the problem? What is the genesis of the tension and the discomfort? It's either going to be one of those things. So if it is the fact that you don't look like the tribe, you don't fit into the tribe, then you have to ask yourself, am I prepared to look and feel like the tribe? Because that is what will be required. So in the situation, if for instance it had gone on with a mother-in-law who likes to party, then what I would have done is I would have shown up at the next gig in my shorts and something really tight and ready to drink and get into the vibe that everybody gets into. With the other situation, I was able to really just put my head down, humble myself, and just show them that I just totally love their brother, and no matter what they said to me, I was so committed to their brother, and I just love their brother, and their brother is just everything to me. And I was young, like I said, but if you want to win them over, you have to model, you have to mirror them, you have to show them how similar you are, rather than coming through with the differences, because the differences are usually the issue. So you want to show up again looking like them and behaving like them and mirroring them. We naturally trust people that mirror us because if it looks familiar to our subconscious mind, and so therefore we lower our guard. So mirror. If you're a party girl and you like to and everybody's very quiet, then you need to mirror that energy. But if there's something else, for instance, you guys had a fight in your relationship and your boyfriend went and told his mom, and now she will never forgive you for what you did. Again, we need to actually everybody sit down and have a conversation about that, and have a lot of guys who are very close to their mothers tell them everything that goes on between a couple. If you have a big fight about you flirting with other guys, he's gonna go home and say, Mom, I really like this girl, but she's flirting with other guys. what she's going to hear is she's flirting with other guys, she's unfaithful, she's not good, and she will resent. And when he's made up with you and you two are friends again, she's still carrying that energy. So it's really about sitting down with your partner and saying, okay, is there anything that you could have said to them, that perhaps, have you ever shared anything about what's going on between us? And you know, that perhaps, or you can start to look at your encounters with them and start to ask yourself, okay, was it the difference? Did I say something? Is it what I do for a living? What you want to do is target the issue, because usually there is an issue. And once you figure out what the issue or the issues are, then you can begin to come up with a strategy and a plan that we can begin to resolve it. It is very possible for in-laws to change their mind about you. It's very possible for people to decide, you know, we didn't like her at first, but she's really lovely. However, it's a very dark and very long road to that place. So every high value woman who is serious about finding love and really getting to be accepted and loved and become part of a family, because you're not just dating to create your own family, you're dating to be assimilated into another family. And it's really important that you honor yourself and you honor that family by actually you know, making sure that you are a good fit, not only for him but for his family. And you know, obviously it all depends on the dynamics. If his mother lives in another country, then the chances of you being miserable are very, very little. But this really, really is something that we cannot ignore. It is very, very powerful, and it will make or break. I hope this video was really helpful and that you'll begin to do more searching, asking more questions. If you'd like to get the 50 questions every high value woman needs answered, the link is in the description below. And if you would like to talk to me about your situation one-to-one, the link is below. All you have to do is go to chengisworld.co.uk/shop and get yourself a discovery call with me, and maybe we can work through your particular situation. I look forward to seeing you on my next video. In the meantime, take care of you. Love you, lots.